Folks, I'll tell you what, I hear culture all the time, and culture is something that they say eats strategy for breakfast. That's a quote. Erin, welcome, my friend. I am so happy for you. This book, it's already a bestseller. It's changing lives, my friend.
Thank you so much, Gary. I'm excited.
Well, listen, I met you over a year ago. I got to tell the story because I think it just sets up the success. You walked into the room on a panel, and there's certain people who are bright, shining stars on a panel, and you could just tell that you had it all. and my friend Chad Willardson was on the panel. I mean, he's a rock star. And so I just could tell, wow, Erin has a ton to give. And you started telling these stories, and I looked around, and it's like you had the room's attention, you know. And I still remember that one story about the guy who mentored you when you all lost money at this deal. And he's like inspiring you and mentoring you. And then, I mean, you were just gushing with content. And I'm so glad that my other friend, Chad Johnson, connected us on a break and said, Erin's got a book. So how long have you known you have a book in you?
Well, it was never a major goal. I think, people always ask me, how do you hire correctly? How do you have this amazing team? And how are they staying with you forever? Like, I mean, these years, like, how does that happen? Because a lot of people have turnover. They may be great at sales. They might be great at building and scaling their business. But if you don't inspire those around you and create such a great culture, you are really missing out, because not only can it 10x your performance and your sales numbers and all of that, you can create something that is just, something that your clients feel that comes back to you tenfold. And so I really kind of concentrate on my most important asset, and that is culture.
You just inspired a new quote in me, my friend, because I'll tell you, no, you really did. Here's the quote you just got me rolling on. People don't quit a company, they quit a culture.
Yeah. That's true. That's true.
Talk to me. I mean, I gather that from you because I'm hearing the reverse. The reverse is Georgia on your team celebrates 10 years. Like we pre-show, we just shared all these wins with your culture. And it's like, people aren't quitting Erin because of the culture. Is this true?
Yeah, I think, early on in my corporate career, before I ever was in real estate, I was lucky enough to be part of a group, a team in marketing and advertising that had a great culture. I didn't make a lot of money, but it was fun. Every day was a great day. I liked the people I showed up with and worked side by side with. And then on the flip side, I moved to Nashville, and I was in advertising and marketing, and I ended up working in such a toxic environment. And where I was making, as a early 20-year-old, 6 figures, which was, unheard of, 25 years ago. And I ran into the ground. It was a toxic environment in terms of how the boss interacted with the employees. And it just, while I liked, the people that I worked with, it was the Tasmanian devil boss that walked in, threw everything into chaos and walked out. And it was just, and then also kind of made you feel like your integrity was questioned at every turn. Right. And it wasn't a great environment. And so I saw both sides of that. And as a professional growing, I wanted to create something that, we know that every day isn't going to be a good day. And in fact, I have a saying, in my book, that some days are dirt, some days are diamonds, right?
There's IP right there.
Exactly. And so, but the thing is that, most days are diamonds. And don't let that 5-minute conversation, that 5-minute phone call put a damper on your entire day. Right. And so this book is about culture. It's about hiring. It's about inspiring a team. It's about growing a team. It's about keeping people happy over time. But it's also a story about, we all have things that happen in our lives.
Yep.
Life is like this, right? We have ebbs and flows. And, some of us are plagued with more traumatic and horrific things that happen in our life. And it's about, we can grieve it, we can feel it, but we don't need to live there.
Oh, that's good.
Right? And difficult days don't define us. What we do with them does. And that is the very essence of my book, because it starts with my story as a young 20-year-old who lost my parents in a car accident, and how I navigated all of a sudden being 21 years old, they came home from my sister's basketball game, and this is when the deer went through the windshield on the Pennsylvania Turnpike. And all of a sudden I'm a senior in college and now having to run my parents' business, plan a funeral, dealing with my mom's health because she had passed away a year later. And it was a lot. But what it was it taught me so much. You know, I can only deal with kind of what's in front of me. I can choose to be a victim of this, or I can rise above this and keep moving forward. And I think, you know, there's something that a girlfriend of mine once said, it's failing forward. Like you keep moving forward, right? Whatever you do, I make decisions quickly. I keep moving forward, good or bad, I keep moving forward. And that has really been a secret to me kind of getting out of the place that I was. Because if you think about it, life is a book, right? It's just one chapter. We take those things with us, but it's how we apply them to our life that matters the most. And I chose to be very grateful for having 21 years with the most amazing parents ever. And while they've missed so many milestones of my life, they have given me the tools to be that adult and that person that I know that they would be very proud of.
Oh, that's so good. And they are, I mean, they are proud. You know it. So you told this story on stage and you tell it in the book, I believe, that the exchange with the marketing person who basically said, you're going to fail, essentially, is how I took it. But what I appreciate about you, every interaction we've had, you know who you are. And I think that your culture knows who it is. Like, you're not, you might be a client fit, you might not. Like, it's very clear. And I've always told people clarity attracts, confusion repels. And it's like, that's intentional. Like in our day and age of distraction, clarity has to be a massive choice. And I'm sure you get tested. Do you get tested? You know, a client who could afford you, but you know they're going to be crazy, high maintenance. Like, is that tested often?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I've been in real estate, you know, for 20 years, and so I've seen the gamut of every kind of personality style that's out there. And I think that people show you who they are. I think that if you listen and ask great questions, identify who's in front of you. It can tell you a lot about how to deal with them, right? How to phrase your sentences. Who's in front of you? Is it an analytical person who just needs bullet points, or are we looking at somebody who wants the warm and fuzzies, right? Who wants the stories? Some people don't. They don't have time for that. They want just the facts, right? And it depends who you're dealing with. But also, if they come off as super high maintenance, that they don't value your value that you bring to the table, that says everything. It's okay to say, I'm not the agent for you.
Wow. That's really good. That is so good. You obviously are doing incredible things. By the way, how was your launch? I saw some pictures. I mean, look at this thing.
Yeah, it was great. It was in the middle of tornado weather in Nashville, which was crazy. And so we had people flying in, and I kind of was like, well, you know what? If everyone's adults, they'll show up if they show up. And they came out in a big way. And I was just so honored to see, these are the people that built me. This is the inner circle of people that came in. And it was just so great to see this. And I have been
a great video. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was just amazing. We had, over 100 people that came out for us. And this was just kind of that inner group of people that have helped support me throughout the years. I mean, I came to Nashville and did not know one person. Wow. And so to create the business that we've created and the people, it has just been amazing to see what we have been able to accomplish here in Nashville.
I love it. And so we've chatted about some of your clientele. I mean, it's literally the best in the world. I mean, it's incredible people, and yet you want to help so much more. You can't be a real estate agent to everybody on the planet. So you've developed this book, you've developed this test, this audit. Let's look at the page here and kind of unpack this. So it's at Capture the Culture. That's hyphens with each one. CaptureTheCulture.com. And you guided me through what I click resources, and you're going to kind of explain some things.
Yeah. So in the book of Capture the Culture, we've got a whole bunch of checklists and audit things that you can apply. So there's interview questions. There's an audit checklist, but we went a step further on the website. So this is a great place after you've read the book, if you want to go and find out what kind of leader you are, right? There's a leadership quiz, and this takes just a few minutes and a couple simple questions to figure out what kind of leader you are. So that's great. So find out what kind of leader you are. And then there's another bit of information that you can download, which is a survey that you can send your team. So are you really the leader that you think you are? Do you have the culture that you think you have? The only way that you're going to be able to find out is by sending this survey through. And that's going to be eye-opening, because just because you think your culture is one way, they might think about it. I mean, think about a relationship. This is a relationship business, a husband and wife. One person might think the marriage is fine, the other person not so much, right? And so you really need to find out what's going on. I think as leaders, as business owners, as managers, sales managers, CEOs, we can get in the weeds of our numbers. But our most important asset are our people and our culture.
That's good.
And they will help you get to new heights that you never dreamed of. Case in point, I have 8 sales people on my team, licensed salespeople.
Wow.
And 2 of them were on maternity leave last year. And we had our best year ever with $225 million in sales. And that is the production of a team that has 35 salespeople. Okay? So you can be strong and mighty if you have an amazing culture. And it doesn't mean that people ran into the ground. It means that people help each other out. And if a child is sick, they say, don't worry about it. I got your back. I will go and help you with this. I'll jump in. We know that we are stronger together than independently. And that's something that is, over time, that is worked on.
Yeah.
We think about things to do as a team to make sure that our culture is stronger, but it's also by leading by example. I believe in being a vulnerable leader. I believe in having difficult conversations. I believe that it's okay as a manager to sit across the table and put your hand and say down on the table and say, listen, I know something's off. I believe in you. I chose you. What's going on? How can I help you? What I'm seeing production wise isn't what I've seen. How can we make this better? Right?
Whoa, that's so, but listen, most people on the planet, they don't do that. And yet here's what they do, Erin. They go and they'll gossip. They'll say, well, I'm not going to talk to the person who can actually make the change. Let's just talk about it behind their back. So I love that you're saying tough conversations. I mean, I heard once that we're all just on the other side of a tough a breakthrough is just on the other side of a tough conversation. Have you seen this happen?
Oh, for sure. I mean, listen, I want to be a boss that any of my team members can come to at any time. But if there's something that I see, I am not afraid to check them, have a conversation. But here's the thing about me, and I think that this is really, really important as a leader, is that you bring it up, you check it, you give them a pathway to fix it. And as a leader, you have to be able to let it go. So you don't want to bring up past issues. You have to be able to say, okay, this was a mistake. This is something that I don't like to see. Let's go and try to correct it. So for instance, even if it's something small, we are a high processes and systems team. And so we have started a checklist over 10 years ago on various, parts of the transaction. And even if a client doesn't feel a misstep, but as a team, we saw something, we will change and refine the checklist.
Wow.
So if there's a mistake that I see on the backside of the team that the client never felt, but I see that it could be better, I say, listen, this was missed. What do you think that we could do to change this? I also want them to be that person that takes ownership in it and looks to say, you know what, let me go ahead and add a couple more steps in here. This way, this will never happen again.
Wow.
Right. And then that checklist is then shared with the team with an updated list.
Hold on. I'm writing this down here. This is good. This is good.
So,
all right. Yeah.
So I think at the end of the day, I'm not looking to hire a bunch of Erin Krugers. Oh my gosh, could you imagine? It would just be like this probably. But I really want people to follow the system and processes that my clients back in the day had when they just had me.
Wow.
Now they have all these wonderful agents that can provide the same service with their spin on it. But it's the same service that's being delivered. And I think that's the most important thing. And so being able to come to your team members and say, listen, this was a misstep. Like, it's how can we correct this? How can we make sure that this doesn't happen? What are your suggestions? What do you think? Put them in a position to make decisions, empower them, and just say, listen, we can't have this happen again. And they don't want to disappoint you. When you are respected and you get down in the trenches with people, they don't want to disappoint you.
Wow.
And they want to be better. And we have a saying on our team: we are committed to being better tomorrow than we are today. And so it's so important to be in that mindset. And I crave feedback. I was at an appointment yesterday with a client, and I said, I'm great at many things. I'm really good at real estate, but I'm not a mind reader. So what I ask you is, if I ever take a misstep, if my team ever takes a misstep, let us know. Give us the opportunity to pivot and change it. I have thick skin.
Yeah.
I want the opportunity to correct it, because just like I said before, do you really know what the culture is on your team? You may think it's one way. They may think it's another. You have to be able to find that out. You have to be able to do these audits to make sure that the ship is on the right pathway. Otherwise, you're going to be leaning from side to side, and any kind of economic environment can capsize.
Wow. Here's what I'm hearing, Erin. I'm hearing this is why you attract good people, though. Like, as an outsider, I can see that. Here's what I'm feeling. So I'm not even employee material, but I'm feeling like I'd want to work for her. I'd want to work with her. You know what I'm saying? Like, people see that and they hear that, and because I think everybody wants to be led well, regardless of your view of politics or whatever, sports teams. Athletes want to be under a good coach. Citizens want to be under a good politician. Like, there's this craving.
Yeah.
And I feel like you're being very clear. And so you're broadcasting this attraction. Like, do you think that's what brings people to you?
I do. I think that, there's something very magnetic about being able to bring people together. But I think what's interesting about my team is, a lot of people will say, oh, I think that, it's such a great family environment, but I don't look at it as family. Okay. Because I think in family, you feel safe. You feel that you are
unconditionally loved. You can do whatever you want. Yeah.
Even if you're bad, you're still loved. Even if you do something maybe that wasn't right, you
won't be disowned.
You won't be disowned. And that's not what we are. A championship team. And so I kind of look at it as, I am going to push you. I'm going to push you. I'm going to make you grow. I'm going to make you feel like you're such a better athlete the day you leave me than the day that you came in, because you are continually poured into. You are given the tools to step it up. That's what I think. Like, and let me tell you something. I will protect you, and I will go after you, because you're my teammate. I'm coaching you. The teammates are going to protect you. There's that camaraderie of this. But there's also that moment where, if there is a misstep, if there is something that wasn't done correctly or ethically, and I say this on the very beginning when I meet somebody, as wonderful as you are, as amount of production that you bring into the team, if you do something unethical, you will be gone in 2 seconds.
Wow.
There is our name is the only thing that we have at the end of the day. And I would much rather, I talk about this in the book, I would much rather have a team member who is newer and open in the real estate world, that is super trustworthy, than a high performer who's not trustworthy.
Wow.
Because I can teach you real estate, but I can't teach you to be a trustworthy person. I can't teach you to show up on time. I can't teach you to care. And so there's certain things through the interview process, when we are interviewing people, that there's tests that they don't even know that are tests, There's interview questions that I ask to really find out who the person is across the table and to see if they would really be a good culture fit. Because at the end of the day, I can teach you real estate.
Wow.
I can't teach you the fundamentals to be able to be a good culture fit into this team.
That's huge. Wow. Well, now I know why you have such a successful team here and experience. But folks, you're catching Erin's other gift. She has many, but she's really good communicator, and that's what I saw in the room. I feel like communication in written word is one form, and I feel like speaking is another form. But here's what I'm convinced of, Erin. As someone who's done 14 books, every time I write a book, my speaking gets even better. Like, I feel like you're drawing from your book today, and I love it. And I feel like you're speaking, although I didn't think it could get any better. I think it's going to even become stronger because you have material now. Like, how cool is that as a speaker now to be like, hey, you don't have to just see me in the next life. You can actually go in the back of the room, get a book, and I can mentor you for 4 hours. Like,
Right.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And I think that's what's happened a lot. I mean, a lot of people were like saying, Erin, can I take you to coffee? They would call my phone. Do you have 14 minutes? Do you have a couple minutes just to chat? I've got this problem and I want to help. That is one of my biggest things. I love to serve. I love to serve my clients and my team members. But at the end of the day, we only have 24 hours.
Yeah. And you got to be a great mom. You got to be a great wife.
You got to be great at all of these other things. And so the way that I'm able to contribute and help people is by giving them some of the tools that I have heard the most over the years that people seek, that they need.
That's good.
A nugget. And I always say, every speaking engagement that I have, every panel that I sit on, my goal is that somebody in that room walks away with a nugget. Something that makes their mind just kind of shift a little bit, makes them kind of think, okay, let me implement this in my business.
Yeah.
Just because here's the deal. You can lay out the entire workbook of everything, and there could be 100 people there, and only a few of them are actually going to implement it.
Yes.
You give every secret to the sauce that's ever been created out there on a silver platter, and only a few are going to do it. But my whole thing is like, give somebody some nuggets. I didn't have that. When I started, there wasn't this collaborative spirit. And I am a collaborative person. I always seek to know more. Like I always think knowledge is power. And just like, this is why, like during the recession, when I was a real estate agent, I went and got my MBA. Well, I told my mentor at the time, I said, I'm not going to get a promotion. He goes, oh, you'll get a promotion. It will help you be better and stronger. And you will have opportunities that are attracted to you because of that. And he wasn't wrong. That was one of the pivotal decisions that I made in my life that made things go from here to here. And it was just, those are the things that was that mind-blowing conversation over coffee, that was that nugget that was like, Erin, go to law school or go get your MBA. What are you going to do? And I was like, I thought I was just coming for a mentoring session. I didn't have this crossroads of what I'm going to do. But I think that like when you have moments like that, when you have coaches, when you have mentors that open up your eyes to greater things than you ever saw for yourself. I mean, I'm a very goal-oriented person, but when people are attracted to you and they see what you have to give and they can push you, like, my team members have been so incredibly supportive of the book and all of this, because they're like, we know what you've done. Wow. We know how you pour into us. It's time for other people to see this as well.
That's cool.
That's an amazing thing to be able to have a team that believes in you and sees so many bigger things than you ever saw for yourself.
Wow.
And so I think that's when you and I met, one of the people that I had on the call on our introductory calls was Georgia, because
she's awesome.
Yeah. And she's seen, and that's why there's a chapter in the book. Everybody needs a Georgia. Today's her 10-year anniversary with the team. And so it's just one of those things where she's seen the rise. She's been there. And she's seen, not every day is a good day. Another saying in our book, like I said, is, some days are dirt, some days are diamonds, but we also say, put your positive pants on, Nobody wants to be saddled up to a negative Nelly or a negative Nathan. They don't want that.
Mm.
They want to surround themselves with positivity. And it doesn't mean that I have rose-colored glasses. It means
Right.
that I know better days are ahead. And so, when I go in and meet a client and, it's a house that maybe needs, a certain kind of marketing or a certain kind of, positioning to get the highest and best, or maybe I have to have some hard conversations with the client about, we need to kind of paint, we need to declutter, we need to stage, we need to do this. And they're highly emotional, those are the things that I think, when you know who you're speaking with across the table, you're able to position the conversation in a way that's not offensive. They all of a sudden, they believe in you and want to be part of the team for the ultimate goal, which is to sell this home for them.
Wow.
They become your ally and not your adversary.
Mm.
And that's an important thing to do. And I think that stems from the culture that we create. When they meet my team members, they see the same culture, they see the same positivity, they see the same service level.
Mm.
And that's really, really important when you're building a team and growing.
Here's what I see in my favorite book. It talks about truth and love. And it sounds to me like you are a very massively loving person, loving teammate, loving boss, realtor, but you also have uncanny truth. Like you have the ability to be massively truthful.
Yeah.
And I think that combination, we've all seen the alternative. Someone who's super truthful but no love, or someone who's all love but no truth. That's not cool. And I think the reason why you're growing the way you are and attracting such a great team is like you've really captured both. And that's your book title, Capture. But you've captured both of those. Even down to the, as we land the plane here, but like we had a different book title.
Yeah.
When we started. And you mentioned the word because it's so true. Like you can't hide it, but it's magnetic.
Yeah.
But what made you say, I got to pivot. I got to go from that to capture the culture. Like I'm curious.
It's a great question. So we were headed in one direction. The whole book thing is so new to me, and, you're brainstorming and talking about different things. And so we're headed down this road, and, my gut never fails me. Like I always listen to my gut, and something just didn't feel 100% of where I needed to be at this point, right? At where I am now. If I was going to be, a first-time author, where did I want to be, and what did I want my message to be? So I sat with it. But one of the things I talk about in my book is that you have to have truth tellers in your life. And I talk about Tom and Sherry, who were my parents' best friends, executives of their estate. They stepped in when my parents passed away. And even though my sister and I were adults, we were young adults. And they were, very pivotal in our lives, to the fact that we went on family vacations with them. They sat right next to my parents' 2 empty seats with roses on them at my wedding. They were there. And in September, Tom was, in hospice with cancer. And I had told him, I think we started writing the book in July, and I started telling him, I've got a book. It's coming out. I'm not 100% sure on the title. I'm still struggling with it. And I started having this conversation with him. And he said to me, well, he's on hospice. And he said, what's the title of the book? And so I told him, and he just kind of looked at me, and I said, I just don't know. I kind of like capture the culture. And he was like, that's you. That's you. Like, it was just like, that's you. That's. And so it was that conversation that was kind of like that moment. You have to have these truth tellers. And like Tom would also be like, yeah, that's a bad idea. That's when I was dating, I don't like that guy, that kind of thing. Those are those conversations. You have to have people in your life. Georgia, on people in my life, when you rise with success, you have to have people that, keep you humble and keep you down. Because if you believe some of this hype out there, you can have a very big ego. I think confidence is really important in business. I think that, you got to watch the ego. And I think that people really love confident but humble people, and they're drawn to them. And I think that having truth tellers in your life is a really key component. I know a lot of people that have been very successful in their careers, and they haven't had those truth tellers. And it's hard to have conversations when their ego is larger than the room.
Oh, wow. All right. So last question here. We're sitting here in a year and we're having a chat. And I say, hey, how is the book? Like, what's been the results? What doors has it opened? What do you say?
Listen, I think I live by the book. I want to be better tomorrow than I am today. I want to be a better speaker. I want to be a better manager. I want to be a better leader. I want to be able to help people. And I think just, we launched on April 3rd, and to see the emails and text message. I mean, I had a pharmaceutical rep I don't know, a sales manager, contact me and said, Erin, I read your book. I'm buying, a book for every single one of my team members.
Oh my gosh.
And so like, those are like incredible stories. And then there are other people that are saying, I too went through a lot of trauma, and your book has helped me. I had another person the other day reach out and said, I'm getting ready to have a double mastectomy and I'm reading your book and it is just inspiring me.
Wow.
Like, through this right now. And I'm like, this has so many other legs than I ever imagined it having.
Interesting.
This is more than a business book, right? This is about overcoming things, mindset, and knowing that better days are ahead, and surrounding yourself with great people that you can turn the page, turn the chapter in the book, and create something truly extraordinary.
Erin, this was fantastic. I'm not surprised at all. I want to encourage people, go find out what type of leader you are. The assessment is amazing. Once again, that is literally capture the culture with hyphens between the words. You click resources. There you go. You can find out what type of leader you are. Get the book, hire Erin, try to hire Erin. She's going to be quite booked here. But in terms of speaking, coming to your event, she's going to just motivate, but also train. It's not hype. It's like legit practical example. So Erin, it's been a blessing to serve as your publisher, and I'm really proud of you.
Thank you, Carrie.